Okay, this is how you hypnotize anybody and how not to get hypnotized. So at the church, the reason why they traumatize people is so that it splits the parietal part of the brain, and that creates a dissociative identity or a separate identity. That later, this is why all the church members have two names. That later can be programmed using PCP. You can access that other personality through hypnosis and program it. Great. There's a lot of hypnosis at this place. But specifically how to hypnotize anybody is you poison them with heavy metals until their neurons are really low, and then they're in what they call the constantly suggestive state, and apparently every church member has this. I think it's why sometimes when you're talking with these people, they seem to stroke off and they go mindless. And I think that's a big chunk of it, but I also think like why they have those weird disingenuous faces and their behaviors are very bizarre and neurotic. Obviously, it's related to the heavy metals. This is why you shouldn't be like, I know a better way for the human brain to function. Like, these guys are like subpar functional, like yeah. The I don't know what it was specifically about me. Like, the wife showed me this video of this guided acid trip of these women that were working in a brothel, and they were poisoning people with heavy metals, hitting them with the LSD, and then basically taking them on sexual acid trips, and then getting them to give them their money, and they were like programming them to give them their money. This was just normal, like, for them, so I guess hats off to the ladies. And they're like the ones that originated this process. The church stole it. Like, they had no business. They just took it, and that's what they do. They're entitled to everything. That belongs to me. You belong to me. Everything belongs to me, because that's what you want in your life. That disgusting thing. Anyways, so they kept doing that shit, and this is the thing, I guess every church member, and I remember the wives told me that I guess some specifically different members, because their parietal part of their brain is fractured, their dissociative identity doesn't click properly, but then they have other problems where somebody's brain just keeps developing personality, so this is not a perfect process. Either way, apparently the god brains are just dissociative. Like, apparently that's what makes them a god brain, but the wives ran into a problem with my brain, because it didn't seem like how much heavy metal they gave me. My brain was still iron-willed and steely focused. I don't know. I'm not a hypnotist. I'm just talking about how they do it. Now, they don't use normal hypnotism. They use verbal hypnotism and suggestive hypnotism and weird, you imagine a gold light coming out of your head hypnotism. I got nothing. But yeah, this is how all this nonsense is done, and I guess if you're a hypnotist and you love doing LSD and all the drugs, you yourself might be able to recreate MK Ultra once again, aerosolized tetraled and shit like that. You can, with LSD, you can spray somebody in the face and immediately hypnotize them through verbal or suggestive hypnotism, whichever the case may be. I think a lot of my memory loss has to do with the LSD, though, specifically. Yeah. So, is there anything I wanted to add to this? No, it's like 4 minutes. I don't know how great of a video this could be. Yeah, anyways, I guess regurgitory. Poison people with heavy metals till they're in a suggestive state and they're barely functional, and then you can hypnotize them anytime you feel like it. And you can hypnotize people into doing things they wouldn't normally do. When you're antisocial, which is what the tetraled does, it makes you antisocial, it makes you manipulative. If you're really good at being manipulative, you can alter somebody's thought process and make them do things they wouldn't otherwise do. They will do things they wouldn't otherwise do, okay? And that includes murder. If you can convince somebody that murder isn't that bad, oh, it's just murder, like, they'll be down with it. And if they're high on LSD, they're easier to manipulate into those kind of things. And the only thing I can think of is, like, some of the weird language that was used when they were talking to me was like that 1984 shit. The only books that are worth reading are that kind of shit. And this was part of the hypnotic fucking programming. They would ask you that, and then you would complete it, and I guess that would stay in your brain. But my nematode dumbass fucking paramecium brain fucking was just staring at him, and they were like, "He's not completing the sentence." And one of them I kept getting wrong, and they started getting mad because they just kept asking it. You're supposed to figure it out yourself, and I just kept saying the wrong thing. And eventually they just moved on, which is probably why I was such a bad president. Holy shit. You would need probably $1 billion. Yeah, no joke. $1 billion and probably about 6 months to figure out exactly how these people do. If you know hypnosis, if you, let's say, like, you're really good at hypnosis, and you got a guy you got some kind of scientist that knows about heavy metals and their effects on the body, and you got a series of willing test subjects. The only thing that is obviously illegal is traumatizing somebody, giving somebody dissociative identity disorder so you can hide a secondary personality in there. But even then, even with the church, the secondary personality isn't always a desirable one. Sometimes it's something that some of these people don't even know their other personality is just volatile. Like, and the wives were explaining that to me. They had an entire thing about, I guess, trying to get schizophrenics, and we had a conversation about repairing the schizophrenic mind, and they were very terrified of, like, schizophrenics. It was, like, really bad, because apparently that's dangerous, to be using LSD and all the drugs on a damaged schizophrenic mind. It can apparently really mess them up. Which tells you exactly why you shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff to people to begin with. Yeah.